Hi there, I'm Chanel,
I'm Annmarie.
and we are.
The girls of Sweet 15. I love that we cheer for ourselves every time. Like, wow, I'm so glad we got this
Mhm.
intro.
Of
Like,
course, if not us, then who?
nobody. They're just two girls now.
Oh goodness. It's funny because like if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just see like the difference. You know how they're always like, oh, there's two types of girls in the world? You can literally see those two type of girls through the screen right now.
You think so? I don't feel like we seem that different right now.
What? Like you're so done up. Like your makeup looks so nice. Like your hair and your makeup looks so nice.
I feel like you also look really nice today. Like I was gonna tell you before. That's why I say I feel like you're in a different level, like energetically right now than you have.
Seriously, this is me getting ready to go to bed. This is my getting ready to go to bed face.
I don't know. I feel like you look very mature. I mean, I'm also going out after this, to be fair. So I did like some
Okay,
heavy eye.
true. Yeah, it's so weird being on different sides of the world.
It's kind of sad. Don't make me cry now. We have to get this episode together.
Oh my gosh. It's funny because like usually we'll have like our backgrounds on. I'll have like the Eiffel Tower behind me because I'm in France, and then Emery has like the beautiful Central Park, but like my background just wouldn't work this
Not only
episode.
would it not work, it was annihilating you. Like it literally was just taking you
Yeah.
out of the frame and making you look crazy.
No,
I've never seen a background act like that at all. That was crazy.
yeah, no. And what the joke I was making is that like I literally live in like a neighborhood where you can see like I can see the Eiffel Tower like from my yeah, when you were here. You can see the Eiffel Tower from my like backyard.
I'm the one
So
who told you that you can see the Eiffel Tower
yeah, I didn't even realize.
from your apartment.
Yeah. I can't believe it was what, only a week, 2 weeks ago we were in the same place?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Maybe a little bit longer, like 2.5 weeks, because I stayed in South Africa a bit longer than you did. But we should
Yeah.
tell the people. I don't know if we told the people we were even going.
Oh yeah, true. It was I don't know. To me, I felt like it like we kept saying it, but it wasn't actually planned.
In my mind, I feel like I do this a lot though, but if I keep saying something, I know people get so frustrated because I repeat myself, but if I keep saying it, then I believe it's going to happen. And that's how it always works. So I kept saying South Africa. Like literally every time I would speak to you, I'd be like, yes, when we go to South Africa. And you were like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we went to South
Honestly,
Africa.
you're the reason why we did because I was saying it as a joke. You know that meme that's like,
As
I
a
was just
joke.
yeah, I mean, I was
Chanel,
like,
do you even know me at all?
I didn't
You
think it was gonna happen. I was not really planning it at all.
The thing is, I deep down had this small feeling that that was true, but I knew that if I made you be accountable to it, we would have to go.
Honestly, I bought my tickets maybe a week or 2 weeks before we actually went. Like
You're so lucky to have me.
I did not buy my return ticket until the week before we were leaving to
It's
go.
crazy. That's crazy people behavior.
I know. But we made
You're
it.
welcome.
Thank you. It was a beautiful experience for sure.
So yes, so the people know we went to Africa. I was in Africa for a month. Well, I guess it was about like 3 weeks, and then I did a week in Europe before. So I did East Africa, I was in Kenya and Tanzania, and then after I went to South Africa with Chanel. She stayed
Yeah.
for part of my experience, and then I stayed a couple of days after. But it feels like I don't even remember my life before. Like East Africa feels like ages ago after South Africa. And now we've been back about 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling I feel like I came back and my life changed. I know people say that all the time when they travel, but I don't know, something about this time. I mean, I always change when I travel. Like you see things and as a person you just change and you're different and their experiences that, shape you. But I don't know, this time I came back and like I just felt like I had been in a funk for the last couple of years and I just feel like it cleared up and like I'm just a lot more motivated now.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say that I felt change because there's been other times I traveled. I always feel like my traveling to different places feel like a longer period of time. This time I came back and I just felt more like empowered and motivated to like get things done. So I think that's what it was, but I feel more myself than like I changed or became like someone new. But it's also funny because a running joke on the trip was how I was being possessed. But that's a story for another time.
It was not a joke to me. It was not a joke to me. The crazy
No, but
thing is Chanel, like, okay, so Chanel went through a time period where I'm not gonna say she was inhabited by demons, but there was a lot of talk about demons. There's a lot of talk about demons. If anyone knows anything about me, I know it's not about me, but I don't do anything scary. I don't watch scary movies. I pretty much boycott Halloween except for the sexy slutty parts. Like I don't like witches. I don't want to hear about demons. I don't want to hear about exorcisms, the devil. Keep it away from me. Keep it away from me. Let me know when Chanel and I were in Johannesburg, one of the most unsafe places in Africa. She decided to keep me up at night speaking about demons when we were staying at a hostel where we kept hearing people speaking, but we never actually saw anybody living in the hostel.
no. But there was, I mean, we'll probably talk about this later, but we would hear kids like running throughout the hostel, and then we would look and there'd be no one.
The thing is, that sounds so creepy, but I
You know,
know that there were children there for a summer camp, I believe. I know that they were there. This is not like, oh, there were demons and they're confused. No, there were no ghosts, there were no demons. We were just, I was scared, okay? I was scared and it was too much talk at like 2 o'clock in the morning. But me trying to be the supportive best friend I am, I was like, yes, Chanel, tell me about your demons. Tell me about your demons some more.
no, and I mean, this is not the part yet, but what I ended up going to church out there because a TikToker told me to. And literally, the message of the service that day was understanding demons.
And you
It
know what's
was
crazy too, Chanel, is when we went to Cape Town, there were some people we were hanging out with as well that were really into demons. Like there was a guy that I was hanging out with, and he was like, he told me he speaks to demons. I don't know if I told you this, Chanel. He
I
told me
think
he's
you did, and I 100% can see that.
yeah, he did.
But I'm moving away from the demons now. I'm moving away from demons. It's over. So yes.
Yeah, I had a massage, so I had toxin pulling the other day. So I believe that if there are any demons like left over in me from the people I've been spending time with, I believe that
Mm.
they should have exited my body by now. And I also believe that the reason I've been acting very crazy might be the demons. I don't think it was me.
Ah, I'm not gonna say it was you, but I'm not sure if demons and they sound similar, but
But I feel like you could transmute the demons through it.
maybe, yeah.
Bodily fluid.
But yes, moving on, moving on. Yes.
Yes.
It was a good time though, for sure.
It was a good time. I think my time in East Africa was very different than South Africa. So I think when we got to South Africa and we met really cool people and we just did really nice things together, I felt like very supported and like in a good community again. And so I feel like we developed like really strong relationships with a lot of the people that we met, even though it was such a short amount of time.
Well, you did spend quite a bit of the trip like by yourself, like traveling as like solo, and then we spent like part of the trip together. So like what would you say was like your experience between like the difference between like traveling solo and then traveling like with another person?
It's funny. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think traveling with you is different than just traveling with another person per se. But I also think us traveling together this time, I'm not gonna say it wasn't as good as in the other times that we've traveled together. I'm gonna say it was really, really different. I think just because we both changed and grown a lot. So I think for me it was a different experience. So I had an expectation of what it's like to travel with you. And this time it was like it was different.
It's funny you say that because I think our like we have grown and we are different like you said, but I
Yeah.
think our themes are always the same.
Our themes.
Our themes, like when we're traveling, our themes
It's crazy.
are always the same.
But
Like
it's
we always
funny.
there's always a deep talk. There's always a deep talk, a crying session, and a boy.
Usually the boy is mine.
Usually the boy is always yours.
It's always mine.
The boy is always yours.
I'm trying to think back. The first time I came to Paris, there were boys, but they were in the it wasn't the same as like
Okay.
the last couple.
No. No, 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 no. There was a boy. The boys weren't the ones we went here, but there was a boy.
Which oh, there were several actually. So true.
Yes. And then there was a crying session.
We didn't have a crying session, but you
Yes.
weren't here when I called
Last
you
night?
crying.
No. But the last night, wasn't there a crying session as well?
No,
Yeah, I think so. We wrote something in a journal, we manifested. It wasn't sad crying, I think it was happy crying, but I think there was crying. There's always crying.
no, there wasn't this time. That's why this time was a little bit
Mhm.
different because you left. I feel like you left South Africa right before all the action happened for me.
Yes, for sure.
Like you left, and then I was
I escaped.
like you were like my gateway. Like, what did you say?
I escaped.
You did escape. The thing is, like, I knew as soon as you left, if I wanted certain things to happen, I had to put them in motion, or that's how it was in my mind. And since you
Mhm,
weren't there to help me and guide me along through that, like you had given me that supportive cushion before, and like we had connected with all these other people. But what I really wanted to happen, I needed to
mhm.
push along on my own. And then I called you when it worked out exactly the way I wanted it to. But I was still upset because I wanted more. And that's when I called you crying. You weren't there anymore. I called you from my apartment when I left the hostel.
Oh, okay, okay, I see, yeah.
Yeah. Because we didn't cry at all before that. I feel like I was very, like, emotionally stable,
Yeah, for sure.
like, more than I ever have been.
But there definitely was crying.
I don't think so, I didn't cry.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it was in Johannesburg. I forgot what it was about, but I remember us being in the hostel, and you're crying, it's like, "Don't look at me, I'm crying, I'm not crazy."
That sounds like me, but I don't know what I could have been crying about because I was just
I think you were just tired, and it was just emotional. I don't think it was anything big, but I remember there was crying for some reason.
it's possible, but I feel like it wasn't, like, an intense cry. It was probably, like you said, something that brought me to tears or something. I don't know.
Don't say it like that. She was gonna think I'm a bully.
I mean, you're not a bully, but I feel like on this trip, you were a little mean.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I could be a bit mean sometimes.
It's okay. It was still a good experience. That's why I'm saying I think just us traveling together this time was really different. I
Mhm,
think I don't like change. So for me, that was like one thing on top of it was like I was looking forward to after having I mean people don't know this, but in East Africa I had a tough time being on my own. Not even being on my own, just with the culture. I didn't feel very welcomed. And I felt like largely unsafe. And then going to South Africa, I was like, wow, like, phew, I'm gonna be with Chanel. Like, I know it's so comfortable. I know how that feels. And then when I saw you, like, everything was good, but it wasn't the sense of comfort I was looking for, I think. I think that's
yeah,
why when you left, I like really like pursued things with a boy and like the other people that we had met. Cause I like really missed like it had been a month and like I really just missed like that sense of like I want to feel like I was being taken care of a little bit. Because I feel like I was taking care of other people and I just wanted someone to be like, Amber, you're not gonna die today. Like it's gonna be okay. You're not gonna get mugged. We're gonna take care of you, little white girl.
but I think I also have to internalize why sometimes I feel like I don't show you enough compassion.
You, I, and I don't want to be a bitch, but I feel like I give other people so much compassion. Like I feel
Because
like
that
it's
sounds
one of
like a whole therapy session.
it's funny because I feel like I've needed this like the last couple of days, but like I do. I think I'm not perfect and I can be a bitch sometimes, but I think
Mhm,
I give other people a lot of compassion. And so I get very frustrated when I feel like it's not reciprocated towards me. I don't do it to get it back. It's just
yeah,
like I feel like to me it's something that's so simple and like it just makes sense that I'm like I don't understand why people aren't like this with me also.
mm.
Yeah.
I cannot give you the answer at this moment. I have an answer, but I just cannot give it to you at this moment.
Why not?
It's very controversial, so I have to save it for another episode.
I kind of
Or
want to know right now though. How can you just leave me hanging like that?
it's really not for this episode, though.
We can cut it out. I want to fucking know.
Okay, so I think because I internalize it myself, I think that, like, the idea of, like, white girl tears?
Yeah.
So I think, like, this idea, especially when it comes towards like how white women are treated in society and how black women are treated in society. Like we're always the idea is always to coddle like the little white girl. And then when it comes to like black girls, like we're not treated the same. We're treated more to be like adults or whatnot.
Mhm.
And I think like I mean, of course in like society they have how we view each other, but I think this idea is always, like, in the back of my mind. So, like, whenever I see you, like, cry or if I feel like I have to take care of you, like, this idea, like, unconsciously comes up for me.
I
And
think
I'm just
that's fair, and I feel like this episode's gonna go in places we didn't expect it to, but I think that's a really good point. The only thing that I'll say is, like, this is also very controversial, taking out the fact that I'm white. I feel like nobody ever coddles me in the way that I need, and I feel like
Mhm,
I do it so often with other people. So for me, it's just, like, frustrating all around. Second of all,
mhm,
even, like, me bringing up the issues that I felt and, like, being like, feeling like I was, like, being targeted or, like, being disrespected because of my race was, like, really difficult for me to do because I know that obviously, like, I've had it easier than, like, you or someone else who's Black or a person of color. But I just feel like if I if I can open up my mind to other people who have been who've gone through that and be like, okay, I don't understand how you feel, but like I recognize this is really bad. It's frustrating to me when people can't do the same for me. Yes, I'm
mhm,
white, but I feel like doesn't mean I haven't gone through things either, you know? And so when I'm crying, like I hope that you or like another one of my friends who's not white would understand that it's really hard for me to even come to you with this topic as it is. And that was
mhm.
actually something that Chanel and I talked about a lot when we were in South Africa was like this idea of being an interracial couple and like how we didn't see anybody who looked like us. I was just talking to my friend Kelly about this on the phone the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, Chanel said we were like single handedly defeating racism," and she was like,
Oh, yeah,
"That's what you said. That no, that's what you said, and we didn't mean it seriously, but that's exactly what you said."
don't tell these people that those are the words out my mouth.
Those words came out of your mouth, but obviously we were joking. We were not serious. Chanel was not serious. It was just like a joke. Something we could talk
Us
about.
together, like
Well, that was what was crazy. I mean, that's a whole other topic of apartheid. And I also felt that from you as well, but I couldn't like verbalize it. Like even like when we were at this one club in Johannesburg, everybody was Black, and Chanel was like, "I feel so comfortable. I feel so comfortable," and I was like, "This is amazing. Like I'm really happy that you feel comfortable." I didn't feel uncomfortable being white in the space
Mhm.
until somebody came up to me and I turned him down. He tried to buy me a drink, and I was like, "No, I'm good." And then he was like, "Is it because I'm Black?" And that's when I got really, really upset because for the first time I felt like comfortable again, like after being there for a couple of weeks. And then when he made that comment, I was just like, bro, I was like, no, it's because I want to punch you in the face. Like, I was like, just stay away. And I remember I kept bringing it up to Chanel, and she was like, I understand, I understand. But I could tell you were getting like a little bit irritated with me.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, at least from my side, I didn't feel irritated. Like I actually, I think that was the most compassionate and empathetic because I felt like, wow, like like you understand.
Yeah, I think
I felt like
that's what's
none of
crazy.
we're on
I feel
equal
like
footing, but I felt like, wow, like I never in my mind would I thought you would have had an experience that I've had.
I also never thought I would have such an experience. Like it was
Yeah,
so
so for me, I was like, wow, like she understands. Like we can talk about this together.
well, that's the thing. I think that's kind of the dilemma in this situation was that it's stuff that people talk about all the time, but again, like it's kind of the same thing as like the Barbie movie, where it's
Yeah.
like all the men were watching it and they're like, I don't understand. Like, why is this such a big deal? Why is Barbie hating on men? Blah blah. And I remember there was a time where like Black Lives Matter was happening, and I felt not a similar way. Please don't cancel me, but I also was like all lives matter, blah blah. And I wasn't like preaching this, but in my mind, I was like, I don't understand this until someone explained it to me. Like maybe a year or two later, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I was wrong. But it's a similar situation where I was like, I just never knew what that felt like. And of course, my experience is probably like minuscule compared to others, but doesn't make it less valid. So even like I spoke to a couple of my friends, besides you about it. Some of them were supportive, but one of my friends was like really not supportive, and I had to like I just could not speak to him anymore about it because I just felt like as a friend, like if I'm coming to you with an experience and I want to discuss it with you, it's not always a learning experience. I feel like I had my learning experience. I had my learning experience in Africa. There's more to learn, of course, it's never over, but like my experience is still valid. And if I'm upset about it, I feel like as a friend, you need to be there to support me or just to like listen to what I'm saying. So I just feel like some people were like shutting it down. Even my sister, like I messaged her about it and she was like, well, now you know how it feels to be a black person. And I was like, I mean, not completely, but like I have a better understanding, but that doesn't, it was just frustrating to me. I feel like people kept shutting it down. And so that's why I was getting really emotional, like really upset about it. Cause I was like, no, like this is not okay. Like I understand it happens to other people and it doesn't make it more valid because it happened to me, but it also doesn't make it less valid.
Any experience that comes with like being discriminated against or being stereotyped because of the way you look and like all these things, like it's an experience, you've had it, and you should be able to talk about it and have people around you, like people you call friends and family, being like, okay, like that's horrible, I can't believe that happened to you, and actually like show you some compassion against it.
Yeah, exactly.
um, so yeah, because I know, like, I remember when I moved to Turkey, was that a year, almost a year and a half ago? And I remember, like, especially like in the part that I was living in, I was the only person of color. The only okay, I can't say person of color, the only black person, the only person with like my skin tone and like probably the darkest person in that area. And I remember when I first like put it up, I said something on Instagram about it, and a lot of people were like, "No, but Turkey's not racist. Like, I'm pretty sure like that's not a problem." And I was like, "But you're not here. Like, you're not living in my shoes and my skin. Like, of course, like if you're a person like it was a lot of Turkish friends of mine, and also like friends that were from other places. And I was like, if you're not in my shoes, then you don't have my experience. So you can't tell me that it's not real."
Exactly. And I think it was something I was guilty of too, at the time where I was like, I just like, I don't know if this is really the case, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's this is like I said, just the first time where I was like, oh wow, this is really crazy.
Mhm.
The one thing I'll say that like I think I needed to work on was like I feel like I would bring it to you or to my other friends and be like, I wanted you to be shocked with me. But I think it's
Yeah,
like it's something you've experienced before. And so I just feel like I wanted someone to be like not outraged, but I was like, I want someone else to be shocked also because like nobody, it seemed like nobody was shocked except for me. And I was like,
mhm,
guys, like I'm not crazy. Like why don't you understand this right now? And then
yeah,
I think even like it made me question. I'm sure I think you felt this way in Turkey as well. I remember you saying this. Like it made me question my experience a little bit in the sense where
yeah,
I was like like that one friend that I was speaking about that I no longer speak to, like he made me feel so crazy. And it was like it was someone I thought I was like safe coming to discuss this with. And when he was like, "Oh, that," he literally said, "He's like, that's not a nice way to feel. Or it's not a nice way for someone to make you feel." And I was like, "That's not a nice way for someone to make me feel."
no,
This
no,
man,
no, no, it was crazier. It was like, "That's not a nice experience." It was something
I'm
like
gonna
that.
hold on. I'm gonna pull up the message because it was literally like I'll say this. So I kept describing it as racism instead of saying prejudice or discrimination, which I
Mhm.
understand, like, based on your definition of racism, it makes sense that it's not, I can't use the word racism. But the point was, like, I still feel like I was being discriminated against because of the color of my skin. And so he basically, like, gave me a whole lecture on why what I said was wrong. And then he ended it with this. He said, it was so crazy. It says, but might be getting targeted for your skin color, which is a different thing. And it's still not nice to experience. Then he said he abbreviated ta ta for now. And then he just left the conversation. Mind you, I'm at a club about to cry, about to lose my mind because I'm so upset. And this is the response I get from somebody who's supposed to be one of my really close friends. I was like, no. I was like, it's time to trim the herd. I was like, there's no, I'm cutting all my friends. I was like, we're starting over.
Like new friends, new friends.
It's ta ta for now. Ta ta for now. But
Yeah.
I mean, now that we're on the topic, we can discuss this. I think being in South Africa, I mean, we talk about segregation, we talk about discrimination in the States, but seeing it in person in South Africa for us, I think, I don't want to speak, I don't want to generalize, but I know we spoke about it and it was really confusing because I think we didn't realize how recent it was in history. And
Mhm.
so we noticed we went to well, it was a farm that we went to in Johannesburg. It was like
It
a
was a
farmer's
market.
market.
Yeah, farmer's market, yeah, but it
Yeah,
was on a farm.
it was on a farm, yeah. And so you would see like groups of white people and groups of black people, but like they weren't friends. They weren't speaking to each other. It was just so weird. Like I felt like I was in a weird episode of the Twilight Zone.
It's funny you say that because I was gonna say I felt like it was in an alternate universe. I felt like I was in a universe where, like, if we lived in America, but, like, Black people was the majority. That's how I
Exactly.
felt,
But
yeah.
I felt that way in certain parts of Johannesburg, but specifically at the farm, I didn't feel like there was a majority or a minority.
It
It
was a
just
mix of everyone, but I felt
yeah,
like literally we went back in time to, like, let's say, like, the '60s, like, the '50s or '60s,
yeah.
but it was, like, everyone wearing, like, very, like, modern clothing.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to describe it. I didn't think about it like that. I think for me, what I noticed was even like most of the stalls were like black owned. And so I
Mm.
would see like white people going over to buy things, but there was like no banter between them. Like I feel like black people would go to buy things from black people like at the store. This sounds like the way I'm even describing this is like so uncomfortable to me, but like there are black people, then the black people would go and buy stuff from them, and they were like having conversations, right? But like when white people would come over, I feel like they weren't speaking to one another. Like it just they could have also been in my mind a little bit. But I'm gonna stop.
But no, but I was there too, like, I
Like
also and I think that was the thing about us being, like, both being there and witnessing it because we were like, "Okay, like, you see that, right?"
exactly. That's why it was so nice for me coming from East Africa and then having you with me because I was like, okay, maybe she'll also notice some things that are weird. But it's funny because there were things you picked up on and that you would tell me about, and there were things that I told you that you didn't realize either. So I honestly like we said this, but we never could have done this trip together like a couple of years ago. It would have been I mean, we could have, but I think it wouldn't have been as beneficial to both of us.
I felt like we would've, like, kept, like, not trying to, like, step on
Not
each other's
talk about it,
toes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Mhm.
like the closest I've felt to you, even though I feel like we are the most different from each other that we've ever been.
I feel the same, like, I was thinking back to, like, how we were in, like, when in uni when we first met, we were very, very different people.
I
So
think
different.
especially for me, like I was just journaling last night, and like lately I've been doing this thing where I write out my dreams. I mean, lately it's been 3 days in a row, but I think that's pretty consistent for me. And then after I'll write down a list of things I really love about myself, so I feel good about myself before I go to bed. And one of the
Mm,
things I wrote down was I have come so far. Like the person that you met, I feel like you're still very similar. You've grown a lot,
I
but
don't change much.
I
I
feel like
change
I
places, but
came
not person.
exactly. I feel like you've become not that you've changed, but you've changed like habits a lot more. Like you as a person is still the same. I just feel like you're more confident in what you want and like you go for it. And even like that's one of the things I'm really proud of you as well. Is, like you're so good with boundaries. Like
Really?
yeah, I think so. Like I feel like you know what's too much and what's not enough, and you're really good at like setting those boundaries for yourself. Whereas for me, I'm not. So it's something I'm always like trying to learn from you. But
Mm.
that's what I was saying is like I look back and I'm like I couldn't even say the word black like 5 years ago, like when we met. Like it was I don't know if we told the people this. I used to always call Chanel African American because I thought it was like the politically correct way to say black. And one day she stopped me. I remember I will never forget this moment. Like we were walking down the block where they have the CVS and the Walgreens, and then you have the 6 train, like there's the elevator. And we stopped like right before the elevator, and you looked at me and you were really upset, rightfully so. And you're like, Anne-Marie, I'm not African, I'm not African American. And I was like, I thought I was being really nice. I was like, I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say.
You're gonna hate me for bringing this up, but the first time I actually heard someone ever, like, call me African American, like,
Don't
say that
tell me it was me. It was me?
it
Oh, thank
wasn't, it
God.
wasn't
Okay.
you. It wasn't you. It's
I was
kinda
like, I
worse.
find that hard to believe.
It's kinda worse.
I feel like it's a white people mistake.
N I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say this without bringing him up,
I think you should just say it.
but he
No.
yes,
My ex-boyfriend?
yes. I remember when his friend was telling me about how he was describing me. He was like, "Oh, you mean the African American girl?" I was like, I never thought of anyone ever, like, identifying me as, like, the African American girl.
Well, you know what's crazy? Is because that person, he was Indian American,
Yeah,
brown. And
mhm.
it's just so crazy to me when people that come from groups that are also marginalized make these mistakes. Like, not that y'all have to be y'all, not that y'all have to be like up to
Wow.
date on one another,
We people.
but it's something that I've always found really shocking. And I remember like when I was really active in Hillel with the Jewish community, it was something similar where of course like Jews tend to be more white passing.
Mhm.
Um, but it's similar where they were having like issues with like people who were Hispanic or like not they, but like there were certain people that were like they were like pitting their issues against one another. And I was like, y'all could like all rise up together and defeat us. Like I was like, I don't, it didn't make any sense to me. So even you saying this, I remember you bringing this up before, but I didn't know it was the first time. And it's
Mhm.
also just like when I think about it now, it just feels crazy to me. Like this is a brown man. Like what? Like him making this mistake feels. It just feels. It feels crazy to
Yeah,
me.
I wouldn't even say, like I wouldn't even say so much like it's a mistake because if you've seen me, like, it would be, like, the political correct way of, like, identifying
But
me.
it's funny because that's technically not politically correct at all. But I feel like that's what we think. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's so hard for us to even say the word black in America, and I think it's gotten. I don't want to say better, but things have changed. We have to add a disclaimer before this episode. It's like everything we say is just us speaking. Like we are not racist, as far as we know,
That's
and
a
like
good
we're just
point.
trying to express our opinions and our
Correct.
experiences.
It's a safe space. It's a safe
Yeah.
space.
But in South Africa, when we went to the apartheid museum, which I would like to
Mhm.
mention, Chanel stole my card so she could have the white experience.
I mean, why would I not want the wet experience at this time? At
I
this
guess it's fine. The
point in
black
life.
side had more history in it, but
It
whatever.
did, which I don't know, I felt like I still, like maybe I didn't wanna be traumatized, was that their point? I'm so confused.
I feel like they should have been exactly the same in terms of information, though. That's why I'm still very confused. That museum was chaotic. That museum was a mess. But they had different classifications for things. So they had it was black, white, colored, Indian, and was there another one? Was there like Asian or something?
I think there could have been an Asian one.
It's possible, but the big point was that they called people colored. And somebody actually called Chanel colored as
I
well
was
while we
not
were
colored, I think twice while we were in South Africa.
exactly. And so based on their definitions, I guess Chanel technically is colored. But the thing that's crazy to me is like we can barely even say the word black in America. Like as a white person, like it's scary.
Mhm.
To say colored, like that is like you just don't do that. Even to say like even Christina's told me before, like I'll say people of color, and she's like, I wouldn't even say that. And I'm like, do I
Like,
disappoint you?
nothing.
Like,
Like,
like over there, you non-white. Like, what am I supposed? Not that it's like not that I call people by their race, but like when you're referring to like a group of people, like. And so it was just crazy to me. It's just the experience itself was so crazy. Or even like our friend Ian, we were playing. You weren't here for this, but when we played bingo, he won a
yeah.
do rag, like a South African do rag.
Told me.
Yeah, and he was like, he's from North Carolina, so the South. He's like, I cannot wear this. And it's
Why?
just like,
Why would that be a prize? That's what I'm wondering. Why would that be a prize?
well, the theme was like South African themed gifts. Like everything was like a flag on it. So I think they
Oh,
just went to the store and bought a bunch of things that had like the flag on it. Because I got like a horn, like
a what?
a
A
horn,
whore?
a
Oh, a
horn.
horn.
To be continued. The recording has stopped.